This is a oyster boat. This is the Half Shell, a reconstructed working oyster boat from Apalachicola, Florida. The Half Shell is manufactured from solid wood and features a 150 horsepower Suzuki 4-stroke. There we go. This reconstructed oyster boat now features a wooden cockpit dressed with teal paint and a wooden steering wheel, perfect for a Sunday cruise around any body of water. With plenty of seating opportunities, the Half Shell served its second life as an eco-tour boat in Apalachicola Bay, but is now owned by Shane McCauley on the Tennessee River. The Half Shell is not only one of the most beautiful boats you'll ever see on the water, it's perfect for my guest today, Mr. Andy Morgan, the GOAT. So we brought the greatest Boats and Pros boat we've had yet. I'm Luke Duncan, and this is Boats and Pros.
I'm not surprised.
I hope you like oysters is all I'm gonna tell you.
That's awesome, dude. That is awesome. Yeah, I'm never surprised.
With the GOAT, you gotta have the GOAT boat. That's what I say. How are you, brother?
Good to see you, bro.
This is not, we're gonna get some strange looks on the Tennessee River today, I feel like.
Yeah.
So this thing was a recovered oyster boat. All right, so it was an actual working oyster boat in Apalachicola, Florida. And in 2003, a guy bought it, had it fully restored. It's all wood, not exactly like your Bullet.
No.
A little different than the Bullet that you're
Wow.
running, but all wood. And a friend of mine that actually sponsors the traveling circus, all the craziness, Shane McCauley, Atomic Transport, bought this sucker in Apalachicola, and it finds its home here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, so he's letting us use it today.
That's pretty awesome.
And he sent me a picture of it, and I said, please let me take Andy Morgan for a ride in the Half Shell.
I was really expecting a piece of junk of some kind.
This is the best boat we've ever, there's nothing junk about this bad boy.
This is actually beautiful.
It's beautiful, man.
That's awesome, dude.
Let's dump it in and let's go see.
Let's do it. I'll grab a life
Let's go
jacket.
see what it'll do. I don't think we can catch one on a frog out of it, but we can at least ride around.
Hey, bet we
I
could.
bet you could.
Bet we could.
I bet you could.
Yep, never seen an oyster boat on Tennessee.
I've never drove an oyster boat, so this is going to be an interesting experience.
I'm assuming the plug's in and all that. There is a plug.
Oh, man,
See if it'll fire.
yeah, we need to make sure of that.
Yeah.
Like a freaking glove, son.
Like a glove. I'll tell you what we did figure out. These are chairs.
These are just chairs. These are just chairs. They are not attached to anything.
These are what I would call wooden chairs.
They have stops where you can not go backwards, but they don't keep them from tipping over.
Correct.
And
yes.
Andy's kind of tall, and when I goosed it, we almost lost the goat.
Yeah. I was like on 2 legs, baby.
Half Shell.
I can even stand up in here, which is pretty cool.
Well,
I mean,
if you didn't have your hat on,
I'd be all right.
He's out here enjoying a cool pop or two.
That's right, son.
Which is what this boat's for.
Yeah, a little shade. Get out the rain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, listen, whenever we saw the forecast today, we were like, we're gonna be able to film Boats and Pros in the rain. It ain't gonna matter, we'll just ride around.
And that'd be a first.
Yeah, I feel like if you're driving a boat like this, you'd have all kind of friends. Way more friends than you do in a bass boat.
Absolutely. You know what, I'm really shocked too, filming this with you guys, that we're not like about to sink. I don't feel endangered at all.
I feel like you've watched some Boats and Pros if you're saying that.
Well, I have.
I appreciate it.
Well, you got to research things.
Yes.
You know,
when you
got to
get
be
invited to do something, you're like, I know Luke, but I don't trust him. I get it.
Yeah, I've watched some. Yeah, you and Gerald down there taking them over the side, on the 16-footer, and you know.
Yeah, we've had a time or two, but this is the nicest one, and I feel like you're bass fishing royalty, so we rolled out the red carpet.
You did.
We did. This is the nicest boat you
Yeah.
could ever imagine. So we're out here in the Half Shell with a guy that I've looked up to, and so many of y'all watching this have looked up to for so many years in bass fishing. They call him the GOAT for a reason. He don't like being called that, and we're going to get to that. He don't, but he has earned that title, and we're on the Tennessee River, and could not think of a better place or a boat to interview Andy Morgan. So I appreciate you joining me, dude.
Dude, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Dude, this place
is home.
This is home, and right here in these mountains on this river that we love. I love it.
Absolutely.
You've won a lot more money on it than I'll ever win. But this is where your career started.
Yeah.
And I was doing some research last night, and knowing you for so long, I know these stories, but going back through and reading some of them, it kind of rekindled things. And you actually said it in the parking lot earlier when we were fixing to put the boat in. 15 years old, you win your first bass tournament on the Tennessee River.
Did.
Chattanooga Bass Association, which is still going today, and it's one of the toughest tournament trails
Oh, yeah.
in the country, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
But you win that CBA at 15 years old to start to talk about that, man.
Freshman in high school, was 15. Actually, my dad and granddad chipped in and bought me a boat. I started out in a aluminum boat when I was like 11 years old, and Dad would put me in Richland Creek, and I'd fish around in there. He said, whatever you do not leave this creek. I'll beat you. So I didn't leave the creek.
Right there.
I know it very well.
Dayton Boat Dock.
That's right.
For those of you that
Lake
fish
Chickamauga.
Okay.
So anyway, they ended up buying me this boat, and it was an insurance boat. It was a 17-foot bullet that it had been, I guess, ripped off. They had stolen the motor off of it, so we bought it from an insurance company, and they had cut out the quarter panel back there where they got the hoses. They took an axe and beat the corner out of the boat and cut the hoses and stole the engine. Anyway, we bought the boat, put a 150 Mercury and XR2 on there, and dude, it would absolutely fly. So I really learned to fish by myself and really learned to drive a fast boat at 15 years old.
Even though your dad was hoping you weren't learning to drive a fast boat.
He knew.
Right?
He's like, I don't want to hear I don't want to hear from these guys out here because, people looking out, they
That's
watching.
right, that's right.
They watching
It's a
the
tight-knit
kid.
community.
That's right. I don't want to hear you out there ripping around. I don't want to hear tell of that. So you take it easy. Don't run it wide open. Of course, I get around the corner and we're rolling. But anyway, I take that boat, and I guess it was Luke. I'm 99% sure that was the second tournament I ever fished as an individual. The CBA back then was an individual weight tournament.
Okay,
it was
so
not
it
a buddy.
wasn't a team tournament.
No.
Okay.
It was not a buddy tournament. So if you had a partner, he was basically, another pro.
No
it wasn't a co-angler.
boat on boat.
It was boat on boat.
Okay.
So me and you could have fished it,
Right.
and you fished out of the back, and you get to catching them. I'd say, dude, it's all you. You go win the tournament today,
Okay.
type thing. So, and it was pro to pro. And I'm thinking, dude, I'm pretty sure, I think there was 298 people in it. It was, dude, back then, Chickamauga tournaments were big. A lot of people, a lot of participation. It was a little different back then. It was kind of almost like a lottery. You know what I mean? It's not like it is today to where people are like, man, I ain't got a chance. Back then, everybody seemed like they had a chance to win some money, catch a big fish, get a quarter. So anyway, it was in April. It went down. I caught 20 pounds and 13 ounces. I beat Don Lamb by 2 ounces. Don actually locked down here to Nickajack.
Okay.
So I've known Don forever, and I edged him out, and I won the tournament by 2 ounces when I was 15 years old. Won $1,825, which was like winning $1 million now, it seems like. And that's kind of what got me rolling. I loved fishing before then. I'd fish some evening tournaments with Dad and my cousin, and we were big into it, and it was just career path. That's kind of what started. And at that point, I always knew I would do this for a living.
At 15?
At 15.
There was you're like, this
no,
is
I
it.
was not going to stop. It was, there's no high school fishing then. I was a freshman in high school. That didn't exist.
You were probably an outcast for being a tournament fisherman.
Absolutely.
People in Tennessee fished, but they're not fishing tournaments back then. You're an enigma at that point for being I'm on tournament fish.
Absolutely.
People do it.
I was not popular in high school until the weekends because I had the boat and a truck.
Okay.
It wasn't nothing nice, but it was something like,
like, hey, Andy's got this rig, let's go.
Dude, it was nice enough to fish a bass tournament out of. It had a good trolling motor, good batteries, good engine, and I had an old truck that my uncle built the engine in. It's an old Chevrolet truck, old 4-speed. And, dude, I had a learner's permit, and I'd get to Chattanooga wherever I could, legal or not. I'd drive down there and I'd put that baby in. And back then, there just wasn't as many people on the road, etc. And honestly, back then, as a young adult, basically at 15, you were pretty responsible. I had some responsibility. Fishing and having a little bit of equipment taught me a lot of responsibility.
You had to take care of it.
You had to take care of it because, it was up to me to get fixed if something went wrong. My fault. I hit something, do something stupid, I had to fix that. So $1,825 in my pocket, dude, I thought I was rich that summer, son. But that's what got the ball rolling.
So from 15, when do you start fishing Redmans, Jerry Ryan's? When does that transition? Because the Jerry Ryan trail for me,
yes,
I've heard the Andy Morgan stories from guys like Swindle and Strader and Johnny McCombs.
Yes.
That's you guys all cut your teeth together. That's a trail for those of you watching this. It was it was equivalent, would you say, to the Bassmaster Opens or
absolutely.
the Toyota Series then, but it was really all you guys had back then were those Jerry Rines.
That was it. That was the first travel. So I started, I guess, 16, I fished my first Redman. It was the Redman Trail back then, which is now, morphed into the FLW.
And BFL, yeah.
Into BFL. So I started when I was 16 doing that, and I caught them fairly. I think it was a July tournament. It was the first one I ever fished when I was 16. I caught a few fish. I ended up not getting a check, but I knew right then, I was like, I think I could fish this like all year, and I believe I can win this AOY in this thing. You know what I mean? Even at that age, awesome. I've got a lot of confidence. I can catch fish, I fished a lot. I kind of knew, if it was on Chickamauga or Watts Bar around, I had a lot of confidence I could bust them. And I guess it was the next season. I was either 17 or 18. I fished just a couple when I was 16. The next year, I ended up making the regional with pretty easily and ended up winning the tournament. So, I never will forget, dude, I don't know if you remember this, but I caught them that morning schooling on a sluggo.
I remember
the sluggo?
Oh, yeah. The original fluke.
That's
really?
it. That's the
right.
original fluke.
That was the only one
That's
we
right.
had, yeah.
They were schooling, dude, and I pulled up in this old spring hole. The spring hole on the Tennessee River, and they were schooling around. So I catch me a limit, pick a flipping stick up, cull every one of them out, and I had like 17 pounds to win the tournament. So at this point, it just gave me a little more confidence. I got a little more money in my pocket, and dude, that's kind of what just boosted me off, and I wanted to run with it. And I'm fishing through. I'm skipping a lot now. I'm fishing a lot of local tournaments on the lake.
As much as you can.
On
the water.
Every weekend I would fish one or two, Saturday, Sunday. Sunday tournaments back then weren't very popular, but the Redmans were on Sunday.
That's right.
So we'd fish one Saturday, whether it was a CBA, whatever it was, and we would fish, and I would fish the Redman on Sunday. So I rolled into that, and I guess we'll fast forward a little bit to 92. 92, I'll win the points title in the Redman circuit. Out of 6 tournaments, I actually won 4 of the 6 and finished second in the other 2. So, yeah. Well, it was...
Did you just hear that? All of you at home?
It was...
the GOAT, that's why, right there.
It was a really good year. So, dude, but now at this point, I'm working for my mom and dad. I'm fishing every day that I can possibly get. If it's 2 hours in the afternoon, I fished. And that year, everything just really came together. They had sprayed the grass. A lot of the grass had left. They all went back to hard structure. I duck hunted all winter. I fished all spring and summer and fall. Didn't deer hunt quite as much back then as I do now. So I spent a lot more time on. I knew where every stump was, every brush pile, etc. So a huge advantage. And it was the Choo-Choo division, which is Chattanooga. So all 6 were on Chick. When I saw the schedule come out, I'm man, I'm gonna try really hard to win every one of them. So I won 4. And finished second in the other 2. Set the all-time points total. I had 298 out of a possible 300. So that actually...
That'll never be beat.
We got really close to being there.
Did it really?
I'm thinking his name, he was from Texas, maybe Metcalf.
Okay.
Was his last name. I'm thinking this is right, and I don't even know if he's still around anymore or not. But anyway, he got really close to beating that.
Okay.
He won almost everything at Rayburn. But anyway, I ended up edging him out on that and won that, that whole thing. Got AOY, which paid $1,000. And just kind of went from there. A couple years later, I went a regional at Lake Kerr. I win the points again. I think it was 92 and 94. I win the points again. I win the regional at Lake Kerr, win a truck and a boat. And that really set me in motion. I started getting better equipment. I bought another boat and a motor, another truck, something I could travel with. Because that Jerry Rines circuit, which was a fisherman's bass circuit, that was in my vision. That's what I wanted to go do. I wanted to go travel. I wanted to get a little more experience away from the Tennessee Valley. I wanted to learn more. So in 95, I started to travel and I fished the Jerry Rines circuit. And I ended up the first year, my first tournament I went to was at Smith Lake in Coleman, Alabama. And I finished second. I got beat by 4 or 5 ounces and it never got above freezing for 2 days. Bitter cold, and I figured out I could catch them on a jig and then a little off-colored water. Nobody even really heard a largemouth much back then down there. And
it was all spotted bass.
Oh yeah, and small ones.
Yeah.
And I throttled them. I caught like an 18-pound stringer on day 2, and I had like 10 pounds the first day, and came all the way back to second. So And that really kind of got me rolling and moving there.
And
as
your
far as
confidence is huge.
I'm building confidence,
Yeah.
and then like we're in fast forward. We're going over many years. And we won a lot of local tournaments. So, but anyway, I started to travel. I won the regional. I finished second in my first tournament, really away from home. And I finished that season out. I finished second in 3 of them that year. I don't win. I finished second in 3 of them, but we did win a boat. They had 2 tournaments that year that were buddy tournaments. We caught 60 pounds. Me and Kevin Keith, good friend of mine from Dalton, Georgia, we caught 60 pounds and 5 ounces for 2 days and finished second. Got beat by 5 ounces by Steve Daniels and somebody else. I don't remember who it was. They beat us by 5 ounces.
Steve Daniels,
Yep.
That's an old name.
That's an old name. Good fisherman, dude.
Won the first ever FLW.
That's
first
exactly.
FLW of all time, right?
Yes, sir. Championship.
Yep.
Championship.
The championship, right.
Yeah. Well,
Mike
he did win in Okeechobee, too.
He won there. Mike Sermon actually won the first ever FLW.
I believe you're right.
In 96.
And Steve won the championship.
Yep, Steve won
so
the
that was in
championship.
96.
Yep, 96.
Because I made the top 5 in that one and finished 5th. So anyway.
Throw a date out there. Andy's like, yeah, I've top 10'd it. I've top 10'd it.
So I finished second in 3 of those Jerry Ryan's tournaments that year. And the other ones I didn't do that well in. So I'm like, man, this traveling stuff's kind of hard. You know, I wasn't very consistent. You know, I had some highs and some lows. So I'm learning the whole time. And I finished second in AOY that year. Guess who won?
Johnny McCombs. Was that the Johnny McCombs?
You're really, really close.
Swindle.
Gerald Swindle.
Okay.
Gerald won AOY.
I knew they were right there at the same time.
He did. He won AOY. We go to Lanier for the championship, and I think I finished 4th or 5th. And I think Gerald won the championship that year. So he wins AOY and the championship in the Jerry Ryan circuit the first year on there. And I don't remember. I don't think I fished it the next season. Maybe just a couple here and there. And then I guess we had that's 95-ish. Then you had the birth of FLW, basically,
right
in 96.
Yeah.
And we're going to
Bass.
That's it. Sermon wins the first one. Okeechobee punching mats. And Steve Daniels wins the championship. I do pretty well that year. I ended up making the championship, obviously, as we talked, and I finished, I believe it was 5th, and it was Lake Sinclair in Georgia.
You don't see that one on schedules very often.
No, you don't. I've never been back since that I remember. So I do that, and man, that kind of gets my career rolling as far as the FLW rolls. I can remember one more milestone step, more and I didn't like it. I remember the entry fee went like to $1,500, okay, when FLW started to climb and get bigger, and I'm like, man, I ain't paying that to fish no bass tournament. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I don't think that's going to work. But in the 90s, and still today, $1,500 is a lot of money, but in the 90s, that's a lot of money. Dude, it horrified me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't afford, if I don't get a check, you know, that's going to wreck me
Might not
pretty.
get home.
Exactly right, dude. I had a credit card that had a $500 limit, and I said, if I go over that, I'm done. I won't do it anymore.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, but dude, I didn't have any money. I had what I won, and
That's
you'd
it.
go through that, and you might have a month or two you didn't win anything, or you're just your own savings. And man, when that entry fee went up, I didn't go. It was at Lake Kerr. It was in June. I didn't go. I didn't go, and still made the championship. but it was, you didn't have that many people following the trail.
The entire trail.
Right, because it
could
kind of
cherry pick them then, I
you
guess.
could.
You didn't have to fish the entire trail.
You had to, yeah, right. So anyway, I made that championship, and I believe that was 96 or 97. And you just kind of rolled with it from there. And, you know, the FLW came about after the old gold blend days, the golden blend, and I've seen a lot of change and a lot of things go on, dude.
A lot of change.
You really got me thinking about it now. And another little story, too. I fished a Jerry Ryan Pro-Am when I was 16, and the entry fee was $750. My uncle was the principal at the high school my last year when I was a senior. Guess who got the first paddling, by the way? When he on his first day on the job, that would be me. He busted my butt.
Was it only because he was your uncle, or did you deserve it? Because I kind of feel like...
Absolutely deserved it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like you probably deserved it.
And he made good on it. He said, nephew, I will bust your butt if I catch you doing anything. I was like, yeah, whatever. Well, he did. So, I roll into this tournament. It's in May. All right, I'm graduating high school the same day this tournament's coming up. It's a $750 entry fee. And I'm like, man, that's too much money. But it's a Pro-Am on Chickamauga. So I'm thinking, man, I'd really like to be in. That's May. They're biting pretty good. And I'm like, that's too expensive. I'm not, well, we win, me and Larry Miles, a good friend of mine, which has passed away now, a dear friend of mine that I learned a lot about bass fishing from. We fished since I was 16 through my 20s until I started traveling. Every boating tournament we could get in. We won a lot of boats and trucks, etc. Went all over the, the Southeast. And the weekend before graduation and this Pro-Am circuit fires up on Chick, the Jerry Ryan, we win the Pepsi-Cola tournament and we won $1,500. $750 for me, $750 for him. That's my entry fee. And I'm like, I'm a gambler. I'm a gambler. I'm a senior in high school, but I got one problem. I got the entry fee money. That's covered. I won that. So I call up and said, yeah, you can get in, no problem. Send you money. All right. Well, I got one problem. I'm graduating high school that Saturday.
Come on.
Guess what happens? I don't go to graduation. I got a bass tournament to fish. I need to go make some cash. You know what I mean? So I call Unc. Called him up. I said, Unc, I got a favor. He goes, what? I said, I need to miss graduation. I got a tournament I'd really like to fish. I think I can do well in. He goes, well, what's your mama think? I said, she's all for it. He goes, well, tell her to come by here or whatever. Come by the house. I go, I'll have your diploma. Good luck. I finished 5th. I win $1,500 more. So I double my money and I roll on down the road. So, yeah.
Listen, all you kids out there on Boats and Pros, you can miss high school graduation and turn out to be a success. Maybe that's not the message we should be giving on boats.
Probably not.
I don't know.
Probably not.
My wife's going to watch this and yell at me. It's like all the mamas are going to yell at me. But Andy Morgan missed high school graduation.
I did. I was serious, man. I was really serious about my fishing, even at a young age. And I was like, man, I wanted your money. If we signed up for a tournament, I didn't care who was in it, what was going on. My eye was on the prize.
Have you seen any oysters? Can't hear me.
He can't hear you.
Can't hear me.
Kill you, Idiot.
Have you seen any oysters up and down through here? Dadgummit. No oysters.
Yeah.
That boy's no help. If you keep your eyes peeled for oysters the whole time.
I don't know what he said, but when he was pulling off, he said they're schooling in that next bend.
Yeah, them oysters.
Busting.
I got cocktail sauce with me.
Perfect.
I think Tanner brought some saltines. If we find some, I'm gonna eat them. This boat, you gotta think they come to it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, I would think that they would. I kind of feel like this is the Titanic.
I do too. I don't see no paddle either.
No, I don't either. We could get up on the nose of it like Titanic.
I feel really cool with my arm out the window like it's just
I do too.
I need a beer.
I want to go through boat check like this. Boat number 3. Where's your live well? Don't need one. But we're going to have a way more fun than the rest of these guys today.
Did you say live well or cooler?
Yeah. Is this where you thought them oysters would be? I'm trying to find them on the Garmin and I can't see.
Yeah, they're on this little drop, man.
The screen's kind of small, and I'm used to a bigger screen. I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
I can't. What do they look like on the graph?
Well, they're real close to the bottom.
Okay, they're close.
Yeah. You got to really look. Yeah, you got to really look tight.
You can see them opening, or do you got to look for the pearls?
Well, on the Garmin you can.
Okay.
You got a live scope to see them open.
Yeah. We ain't got a live scope for screens.
Ah, man, we're screwed.
You can't even catch oysters without a live scope. So, bass fishing and family is what I associate you with the most, other than hunting. Hunting is always synonymous with Andy Morgan, but family, you and Missy and Keely are this unit. Talk about what that means to you.
Oh, man.
I mean, you've had Missy on the road with you. I met Missy years ago with you at tournaments, but I follow you on social media, and between Missy and Keely, your posts are not always just sponsor. Hey, I did good. You post more family stuff than anybody in there. But talk about your family.
Well, I mean, they're your support. They're your legs under you when you're traveling as much as we do and on the road, and you miss so much stuff that goes on in their lives. It's a big deal to have their super support because I do miss so much stuff, things, school things, plays, recitals, ball games, birthdays, dude, some graduations. I mean, because I can't, on a schedule, I have to go when it's time to go.
That's right.
And they're that supportive that they don't make me feel any worse about it than I already do. And you understand some of that too with being a family guy. Because honestly, on the road, that's the biggest thing that eats at me and a lot of other people, is the things that you miss at home and the support that you think you're not giving at home. Financially,
okay.
Yeah, that I'm giving back.
Taking care of things.
Yes, I take
earning a living.
That's right. You earn a living. I don't want them to want for anything. I want everything to go good and smooth and them to be taken care of. But your time, that's the most valuable commodity on earth. And not being there for a lot of things really, really eats at you. But in your mind, you have to make it okay, and they make it okay.
That's awesome, man. And something, your relationship with your daughter has always been very special. I've got to ask, where does baby one come from? Now, she's your, but I see that you hashtag baby one.
Oh,
in videos.
yeah.
Where does baby one come from?
Oh, yes. That came up a long time ago. She was premature. She was 214 when she was born.
Okay.
So I always said she was daddy's little baby one. So
okay.
It just stuck from many, many years ago. And yeah, she's definitely the light in my life, and Missy also. So, dude, without them, I don't know what life would be. Really don't. I can't imagine it without either one of those two. And it's just so special. I mean, it's just, man, it's life, it's family, and you cherish that and protect them with all you got. And you don't know what it's like to love something or something or love yourself until you have a child, and that's when
everything changes.
You betcha.
In that moment.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing when they hand you that child.
You don't know.
You just don't know.
No.
You never. It's a feeling like no other.
Yeah, you don't know at that point what you're capable of doing. It's just as an individual when you're on your own by yourself, whatever. But when they hand you that child, you're like, hey, whoa.
That's right.
Things are changing now. Right. You know what I mean? You become a different person. You become a different man. I don't know that you become maybe even a little more aggressive and you pursue things even harder.
Papa Bear. Yeah.
You're Papa Bear. You don't let nobody mess with your baby.
That's right.
Your baby one, you don't mess.
Any of y'all watching this now understand? This man could kill a bear with a slingshot at like 500 yards. So any of y'all are like, hey, Andy Morgan. I mean, I'd like to date his daughter. It'd be cool having Andy for a father-in-law. Stay away. You don't want to roll into dating.
No.
Are you protective like that though? Or are you like, hey?
Man, I let her live her life and do her things, but I'm mean. I mean, I'm not in nature. I love people.
Goats historically are not mean.
Right.
I mean, they'll headbutt you some.
No, yeah.
So you go next level though.
I can, dude. I can. I can get pretty wound. I can get pretty wound.
I don't want to see that today in the half shell.
We had wood chips flying everywhere, man.
So being a big outdoorsman, obviously you're an avid hunter as well as an angler, but I read an article, you said wild game, absolutely your favorite food. What do you say to people that go, I don't like wild game, it tastes too gamey? What did you say to a person like that?
Hey, dude, it just like, it really boils me a little bit, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, what the hell are you doing to it? Are you like throwing it in the fire?
What is gamey?
Yeah, I have no clue what that actually even is. I'm like, what? I mean, what are you marinating it in? Gas?
Blood?
I mean, but blood? Well, I mean, I just don't.
69?
Yeah, I really don't get it. It's and I know the answer to that. They're overcooking everything.
Yeah, most likely.
Hey, look, son, you know.
Give me the Andy Morgan #1 deer venison recipe right off the top of your head. Boats and Pros turned into a cooking show. Go.
I'm saying Italian dressing. I like to marinate it in that. Italian dressing's always good, but I always like to put a little Tabasco, maybe a little Allegro, hot and spicy. And if you got some kind of dry rub, I like a little spice. I like to little dry rub on that stuff right there. Hey, and it's medium rare. If you cook it over medium rare, you've ruined it. It's
rubber.
It's done. It's dog food. Sometimes they may not even eat it. You cannot overcook any kind of game. It's just not good. Yeah. I mean, it's just the bottom line.
You heard it right here. Next time you cook a backstrap, go the Andy Morgan route. You
can overcook anything and you can undercook nothing. That's the rule.
I like it. My favorite Andy Morgan quote I read, and this was when I was on the tour. I read this, and I was competing against him. I was in the same tournament. I was donating to Andy Morgan, but
you always did
I'm like, I come home and I go fishing, I fish, and I see this joke. Your wins angler of the year, okay? Missy Keeley on stage with him, handing the trophy, and he's doing an interview, and he says, listen, I mean, I fish so I can hunt. And I'm like, now wait a second, this joker beats our brains out all the time, is one of the greatest to ever pick up a rod and reel. Don't even go fishing when he gets home. Explain that. You really don't fish as much as you used to.
No.
Because hunting is such a passion for you.
It is, it is. And you know what I mean? It's my reprieve. It lights my fire again. It gets me away from fishing. It's the same game. You're just not on the water.
That's where I was going with this.
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
It is. I mean, so it keeps you in the outdoors. It keeps you with the same mindset of whatever you're pursuing. There's always ways to do things better. You got to figure out how to kill a deer with a bow. You got to figure out how to work the next bunch of ducks better. And you got to figure out how to catch the next bass. It's all structure. Everything's related. Everything is very connected. So it gives me back my sanity at the end of a tournament season. You know, it's hectic.
Oh, yeah.
It's go. You're risking money. You're missing your family. Everything's rolling. And when it's finally over, end of the year, you've made the championship. You've done whatever you've done. You failed. You've succeeded. Whatever it may be, it's done. And I want to get away from it. I want to relight my fire. And hunting is how I relight my fire.
Why, and I think you already have answered this, but this is something I wanted to ask you. I feel like guys that kill big deer, that kill ducks, that are successful, always catch fish. And that's the swindles, that's the straighters. That's Jacob Wheeler.
Oh,
kills
absolutely.
Big deer,
Absolutely.
You take him turkey hunting. He couldn't kill a turkey without you. I mean,
He's learning.
Jacob Wheeler.
He's learning.
J-Dubs. Sorry, but Morgan's the GOAT turkey hunting. But it's all correlated, right? Like it's all connected.
It's all connected.
Why is it just because it's like you mentioned? It's just all the same thing. You've got to. Is it that puzzle that you're trying to solve,
Absolutely.
or is it just time in the outdoors?
It is. It's all the above, and you said it very well right there. It's a puzzle. You just got to put it all together, and it changes daily. This piece right here may not fit an hour from now. It does right now, and you put that piece in the puzzle. Then you look around. God, where did that piece go? Well, here's another one missing. You just got to keep putting pieces in.
And that doesn't matter if it's ducks, deer, bass, turkeys, whatever.
Wind directions. It's condition changes in the weather. Pressure is the biggest effect on anything in the outdoors that there is. It trumps weather. It trumps time of year.
Barometric pressure.
It trumps seasonal patterns. Pressure anymore. Now I'm talking human pressure.
Okay. Oh, human, not barometric pressure.
No. Barometric pressure has
actual pressure.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Human pressure on whatever you're pursuing affects that more than anything, and especially bass fishing. Deer hunting, absolutely. You get a bad deer hunter in a patch of woods, you're trying to...
Game over.
Game over. You're probably not, he's nocturnal, you're probably not going, he's gone. So, he's living on the side of that mountain right there, and you ain't going to kill him. So, fishing's the same way, and fishing has been affected more by pressure in the last few years than...
And there's so many more fishermen now.
And they're really good. They're really good fishermen. You take the CBA up here in Chattanooga. Dude, them guys can deal. You ain't gonna go up there, man, I'm Andy Morgan, I'm a professional fisherman, I'll go up there and win this tournament. Wrong.
No.
I'm 18th, or whatever it is.
That's
Them guys will beat you to death because they're good.
That's a fact.
And if you want to get better, get in there where there's some good fishermen.
You got to fish against
They'll
them.
teach you. If you want to escalate your game, you want to be a better bass fisherman, you want to be a better bow shot, you want to be a better bow hunter, you get in the crowd that people that can deal, people that can beat you and will beat you. They'll teach you to be better, or they're gonna send you home. You're gonna quit and give up.
Who's the guy that has made you elevate your game in bass fishing?
Oh wow, man, there's a bunch of them really. I mean, you got to look.
In the last 5 years.
Oh, in the last 5 years. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, there's so many good fishermen. And these young guys coming up. You look at Jacob, look at Wheeler, look at Jordan Lee, look at Michael Neal. I watched these guys come up from kids, dude, that wanted your autograph.
17, 18, 19-year-old, yeah.
Dude, I'm saying now that in the last 4 or 5 years, they've probably been the biggest motivation to me because they are that much better. So I've got to change. I got to morph into something that I haven't been before because of electronics, the Garmin units anymore. Dude, you can't hide. No. You can't, as a fish.
Unless you're an oyster.
Unless you're an oyster. Yeah. Hey, we hadn't
talk about that.
No. We haven't done very good today. They're not biting. So,
no.
But you know, dude, just the games have changed so much, but again, you want to escalate. You want to be better. You get in that crowd. You come out of the crowd I came out of at the CBAs, okay? and I had your Billy Joe Halls, Baldy Hall. You might have heard of Baldy Hall.
Oh,
Used to win every other tournament up there. I grew up in that. There was a ton of guys up there that were always super good, and they always seemed to have their times a year that you couldn't hardly beat them. So that made you think seasonal, I got to beat this guy, I got to beat that guy. And you do eventually get where you can compete and beat them every once in a while. But that starts at a local level,
yes,
because you have a lot of legendary fishermen that you guys will never hear of.
That's right.
I mean, I grew up around a lot of them. You grew up in the Pickwick area.
Right. They're
Look at Leon Tidwell's.
Oh my gosh.
Could you beat him in a smallmouth tournament 20 years ago?
No.
Done.
No.
Done. But you learn from him.
Yes, that's
You're
right.
learning. God, Leon caught second place was 14 pounds. Leon had 5-weight 31.
That's right.
You know, I mean, how many times did you hear that?
Yeah, totally.
Because you knew it was, he's catching them, so it's possible.
That's right.
So
it made you try to escalate your game and pushed you.
You bet
That's
your
it.
bottom dollar. I mean, they're local legends, legendary fishermen that you guys will never, like I said, never.
Sleepless nights for me when I was a kid, thinking about how, because you would go, you're below the dam on Pickwick, and you go to weigh in and you got 12 pounds, some guys got 26, and you saw them all day.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, what am I doing wrong?
What the
and,
hell
and it just
happened?
costs you know, you to push. So that's man.
That's where it starts.
And I gotta say, you talk about Jordan and them coming up for your autograph. I was one of those. I walked up to this guy at a Redman tournament. I was fishing as a co-angler on Lake Gunnersville. Walked up to this guy at about 16 years old, and now I'm catching him around in a half shell. Son.
Man, we moved up, son.
We moved up.
Look at us now, sitting in a wooden chair.
So I feel like the half shell is a dang Boats and Pros Hall of Fame boat. So I just recently found out that you're a Hall of Famer in the state of Tennessee, in the city of Chattanooga.
I am.
And dude, I read this article that, and I remember seeing it, you know, on MLF's website or whatever when it happened, but it hit me so hard when I was researching this. You were the only angler to ever be inducted in this, but there were 20 guys in your inductee ceremony,
Yeah, right.
But one of them, Terrell Owens,
I got to sit by him, eat dinner with him.
world famous wide receiver
Yes.
in the NFL, but you were the only angler. And reading what they said about you, that you were this athlete, an incredible athlete, being at the top of your game it was an honor for me, like to be a bass fisherman and to read that. But what was that like for you?
That was a pretty big deal. I didn't realize kind of what that all meant till I got down there and you see all these people. There was people out of boat racing, there was people out of tennis, and there were coaches out of softball. Terrell Owens is, you know, this magnificent wide receiver that's record setter. Dude, you get around all those people, I'm like, why did they want me here? You know what I mean? I really
Very cool.
thought about that, and I'm like, man, you know, I've done pretty well, and et cetera. And I know the Chattanooga area, bass fishing is a pretty big deal. You know what I mean? And I understand.
Fish catchers in this part of the world.
And I understand that, you know, maybe Detroit or wherever it is, maybe that's not a big deal. But where I'm from and you're from, it is a pretty big deal. So I was like, do I really deserve that kind of honor to be here with all these guys? Well, I guess depends on where you're from. You know what I mean? Your city. Who's inducting you, what they think of you, and I thought that was a real honor that they did think enough of me and what I've done over the years. Man, I've caught a few bass and stuff, and you know, and in my eyes, it ain't that big a deal, honestly. It's really not in my eyes. I fish for a living, I try to win some money, I made a living at it, and it's not all been good, dude. It's been a ton of struggle,
right.
you know, and I don't remember all of the good times per se as I do the bad ones. They stick with you. You know, I'm like, well, I'm in the Hall of Fame. Dude, I didn't catch one in this tournament. You know what I mean? I zeroed for 2 days at Ouachita one time. I mean, how are you in the Hall of Fame? You know what I'm saying?
But then you have 66 top 10s on the FLW Tour, the most ever. That will never be broken.
Yeah.
3 Angler of the Years.
Yeah.
Over $2 million in earnings. All these, you won the BPT in the inaugural season, the first ever BPT they ever had really on the Tennessee River here at Chickamauga. You win at home in an area you used to fish with your dad and your granddad.
That's true.
Andy Morgan, it's been a good ride.
And
it ain't over.
It has been.
So,
I really appreciate it.
He's a Hall of Famer, man. So on the Hall of Fame note, though, I gotta ask, you spent time with Terrell Owens that day.
He's awesome.
If you had to pick, and if you had to pick, could you run a wide receiver route in the NFL, or could he learn how to flip like you. Who's got the better chance?
Oh,
there?
wow.
Who's got the better chance?
Oh,
you or
wow.
you or T.O.?
I want to say probably T.O.'s got the better chance.
Of flipping like the goat?
I don't know now. I ain't going to say he'd beat me, but I think I could teach him to do it pretty quick.
Okay.
I think I could run the route. Man, I used to could catch a football.
Oh, that's where I was going. That's what I need to hear.
If it hit me in the hands, I'd catch it. But, dude, that was so special. To actually, the way the alphabet laid and whatnot, they set us down, I'm right by T.O. Dude, and I really, at this point, felt way out of place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I can imagine. I mean, that's a high-profile crowd nationally, right? And like in our bass fishing world, it is big. It's big to us. You're famous anywhere you go in the bass fishing world, but our world is our world for the most part, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, and T.O., he's like an analyst on freaking ESPN and catching, touchdowns in the playoffs. So that I can imagine that's overwhelming.
It
and
was.
An honor, obviously.
It was, dude. Yeah. And I sit there and I was like, man, I don't want to be aggravating, but I'm going to talk to him.
Yeah.
Dude, he talked to me forever.
Did he like to fish?
I never asked him.
Okay.
Because I could tell he probably didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
And I probably should ask. He probably knew more about it than I thought.
Man, why do they call you the GOAT? Did you get that?
No, he did not ask me that. But I asked him a lot of football questions.
That's
Let me tell you what, I was really impressed with that man.
That's cool.
Because you look, he's got that bad boy image. He caused a lot of trouble. He was always
He's
mouthing.
He did the fake moon in the celebration that ended all guys getting to celebrate in the NFL for years. He was the guy.
Absolutely. I was a big Cowboys fan and stuff, so I watched a lot of his career. And I'm thinking, man, this guy, he's probably pretty dirty, maybe pretty arrogant, and that sucker's smart. And I knew right then, I said, T.O.'s savvy. He made a name for himself.
That's right.
He did. And he knew how to do it.
Character.
He was playing a character and a tremendous athlete. I know we broke down for dinner. They served her dinner, and he's going through, and they passed the bread down. He just kept passing it. And I said, and dude, he's got a suit on. T.O. is, you could tell, he's still all there. He's retired.
But he's ripped.
And I said, T.O., how many days a week you still work out? He goes, I don't. I said, and dude, you could tell he's muscled up. He's well fit. I said, you don't. He goes, dude, I've done that for years.
Got paid to do it.
I'm sick of it. I'm over it. That's all I done was work out and train. And I'm like, you put in a ton of time. He said, Andy, I always thought the more time I put in makes my chances better. That I could beat that DB. I could outrun somebody. I could outmove somebody. He said, dude, and I thought it kind of revolved around into me a little bit. He said, I had to hustle. I wasn't as good as a lot of other people. I'm like, the bull. I'm like bull crap. But in his mind, dude, he had the ability and the work ethic.
And that's a dangerous combo.
That's a dangerous to Jacob Wheeler.
And the Andy Martin.
I mean, dude, that work, somebody's got a little ability and a lot of work, woo, they're hard to guard.
The infamous GOAT question.
Cody Meyer, he gave me the name.
Okay, so that's where it came from.
Yes.
I thought I remembered that, but he starts calling you the greatest of all time as you guys are duking it out.
2014,
year, right?
Yep.
Okay. And you don't like it?
No, I mean, dude, it's very flattering, but do I totally deserve that honor with, you got your Van Dams, you got your Edwin Evers, you got all these guys that's done so much. Not so sure that I earned that, but.
And it's not over. The story's not over,
It's
right?
not over. It's not over. But there's been a lot of guys that's had great careers.
No doubt about it.
So. That Cody, I mean, he named me that, and it was an epic battle. Well, me and him had probably one of the most epic battles that ever go down in the points championship. He had, by far, one of those years that was unreal, and I just edged him out, and it robbed Cody. He had a epic freaking year. There was nobody really even close to us, and I beat him. It goes to the last tournament, the last day of the tournament, we both make the cut, and I end up winning by like 9 points, 11 points, something like that. Crazy.
And that's how it should be, to me. That's how AOI.
That's it.
The blowouts are cool. It's good to see somebody have an amazing year, but when you got several guys that are just at the top of their game, there's nothing better than the sport of fishing.
My worst finish was 21st, and I barely beat Cody. And I think I had 4 top 10s. I mean, dude, and barely beat him. And he had an epic year, and I'm like, golly, man, Cody got robbed. It's just my year came together, and
was that your most special AOI of the 3 for you?
Yeah, well, probably that first one, just to get that accomplished and win right there on Chickamauga, and there was a ton of people there. It's the biggest weigh-in I've ever seen yet to date. They had cars out on 27 at the Walmart, and we weighed into Walmart in Dayton. Back down the road, had the sheriff's department out there you know, bringing traffic in. But me, Wesley, and Michael made the top 10.
Made the 10, yeah.
And I'll win the points out of that in 13. So that was really special to win that at home. But 14 was just an epic gladiator bass fishing battle.
Tennessee versus California.
Dude.
Now, who would have thought? Finesse versus flipping.
Yes, that's what it was.
Just unbelievable.
And I had to go fish a ledge tournament, which, you know, a lot of people think, you know, man, Andy's he'll struggle up in that ledge tournament. Dude, that's really was my passion for many years before everybody started doing it so often. And I really, and it was really that, like that whole week, though they were on those shallow drops. I think you were down south fishing too.
Yeah.
So I was running way down south, hopping a jig and a worm, and 12 foot of water, 8 foot of water where you couldn't graph them.
That's right, had to fish.
And you had to fish, and my God, it was so good. Oh, it was so fun.
And he pulls it out.
I did, yeah, last minute.
Goat.
Yeah, just go about third left and go right at it and you'll be fine. We're good, ain't we? Yeah, a little more right.
I think them runners
Perfect, them runners did you right. Might be the first oyster boat ever to put in at Sullivan's Landing.
I dare say it's the first oyster boat that's ever been on the Tennessee River.
Very possible.
It's the first time a goat has been in an
oyster boat on the Tennessee River.
We asked one old boy up there if he knew where any oysters were, and he looked at us like we were idiots, and he looked at us correctly, I think. I think he pegged us pretty
His
quick.
Assumption was correct, yeah.
I think the guy, he was bass fishing. I don't think he realized that I had the 3-time AOY with me in the half shell. What'd you think about it?
He didn't suspect it, I promise. No, he did not suspect it.
In the least. I appreciate you doing Boats and Pros with us. What'd you think? Half shell? It wasn't as bad as you thought. You were watching Gerald's, you were watching Watson's, you thought you were in for it, and then I roll out the red carpet with this beautiful boat.
Well, you saw me show up with a life jacket on when I got out of the truck. I was scared to death. I'm like, well, at least it's calm. Yeah, I'm like, oh, geez, what's coming, you know. The shock factor is not, you know what I mean? I'm prepared for anything.
You gotta be.
Hey, so the half shell was nice.
Well, tell all your friends that I treated you right. That's all I ask.
That's all you want.
That's all I ask, is ask all the future guests of Boats and Pros when they ask you, hey, what's it like working the red? Hey, he rolled out the red carpet, and then I'll get them on like a Sea-Doo or something.
We survived. we survived.
Boats and Pros. We said we're going to make a trophy that says I survived Boats and Pros to give to the guests. Tanner, make a note of it. We need to do that. Andy Morgan, it's a pleasure, man.
Dude.
This guy right here, one of my fishing heroes. It's awesome having him on Boats and Pros. Make sure you subscribe to the Luke Duncan's Traveling Circus YouTube channel so you can see more Boats and Pros, low budget lives. And I'm gonna make this guy take me fishing on a video before too long. Thank y'all for watching Boats and Pros.